And we are back with Survivor 42 and 42. It is 1:45 in the morning. I should have been done this season way earlier in the day, but it just honestly, once the Brandon Hans thing happened, I kind of checked out, and then it just got worse as the day went on, to the point where I fell asleep and had to wake up and rewatch the episodes that I missed so that I can like stick to this whole thing. But this was a drag. I'm joined by Ryan once again. Ryan, I know that you said you started a few seasons before this on your initial watch of the shows. What did you think of CARAMOAN this time around? Because you would have known all but what? Just Eric? All but Eric and Corinne, right? From the favorites?
Yes, yeah. So I had not actually seen their seasons before watching this for the first time, so I didn't know who they were. It did not affect the viewing experience too much for me at the age of 8, 9, I think, because they're both somewhat minor parts of the season, but I actually, contrary to popular belief, I actually enjoyed this season because and although I do believe there are other things this season to enjoy, so I personally enjoyed it a lot.
I've always been a CARAMOAN defender, mainly because whenever people say I'm no longer, I can say that honestly now, but when people say, oh, Micronesia is better than CARAMOAN, one of the things they say is the pre-merge for CARAMOAN is so dull and boring and you don't remember anyone. I would say that it's pretty much the same with Micronesia. The only, am I saying that Micronesia is on the same level as CARAMOAN? No, it's not even close. But this time around, the pre-merge is just so much worse because I spent the last 24 hours watching this season and I've forgotten most of the fans on that tribe. Now, I want to play a game with you right quick. Just your opinions, whether they are, whether it's actually true or not. Of the 10 fans, how many of them do you think had watched more than 10 seasons of Survivor?
Just name them out. Even if I can, of course I can remember them, but if I can name them out, I think Michael, Matt, Sherry, maybe Laura, maybe that's about it.
See, I feel like Allie.
Yeah, Allie as well.
Allie, I think, no, that can't be it. Oh, no, Allie, Matt, and Mike. I feel like those are the three, if I were to guess, those would be the three that would have been the actual fans on this season, full of
recruits at a local LA bar.
Yeah, these people, it's not like South Pacific or Nicaragua or Gabon or anything like that, where it's like a whole bunch of Looney Tune characters, One World, where it's a bunch of Looney Tune characters. It's people that are just it's generic white people, the tribe.
Vanilla, literally vanilla.
And Shamar. And Shamar, it's just much like I won't put him in the exact same category as Nayanka, but it's just like one of these people that I just want you to go away.
Yeah.
I really don't. I know that I'm supposed to root for you, but I just can't. And I just want you gone. And if we're going to get started with this, Sherry was very hot out of the gates. Sherry's running the fans tribe. She turns everyone on this 4-person alliance. And I think that Sherry was setting herself up to be a player at the merge. It just sucks to see her have burned out as hard as she did at the merge. Yeah. So who are some of the people from the fans tribe that stood out to you early on in the game, even if they may have gotten better or worse as the game moved on?
Well, one person I thought was really interesting in the pre-merge was definitely Reynolds, just because he seemed like to be a very active player. He was so overexposed in the pre-merge, everything with his idol and everything. But I think what was so interesting about him was that even though he was so active, it seemed like he was always making the wrong decisions, especially like starting out making an alliance of 4 on a tribe of 9, calling themselves the cool kids, saying everyone's going to have to work to get into this alliance. And like everyone on the beach is just like, well, at least we know who the final five is.
Yeah.
So I thought he was a really interesting character. It just seemed like nothing ever, he was never able to get anything to go right, kind of like Spencer before Spencer in a way.
Yeah, and I will give credit where credit is due with Eddie and Reynolds at the fact that they did make it as far as they did,
Yeah.
playing on like the round that Reynolds went home. Jeff says, "Y'all have been on the bottom since the very beginning of the game," and it is true. And the fact that they made it as far into the merge as they did is a testament, to their games as they show the pre-mergers in the audience, and it's so awkward because
Yeah.
you know why they're there, but they just show Corinne in the audience. I with the fans, Reynolds and Eddie definitely stood out to me. More Reynolds, like you said,
Yeah.
everything he tried didn't work, but I did find his presence on screen. Like I did pay attention to a lot of the stuff he was saying as compared to like almost anybody else in that tribe. Matt and Mike, I really liked their dynamic.
Yeah.
I was glad that they got swapped together. Obviously, I was annoyed that they weren't meant for this game long afterwards with Matt going and then Mike going as being the first juror. But I liked their dynamic. Everyone else, like looking at these people, I knew the names. I knew the names of everyone on this tribe.
That's a start.
But you had just shown the women minus Sherry on the fans tribe, I would have had a hard time matching who the name with the person. Just because
they look too similar. The three, Allie, Laura, and Hope, the three blondes, do
Allie,
not belong
Laura,
on the
Hope,
same
and
tribe.
Julia.
Vanilla Julia.
Who actually like I wanted to pay attention to more to this time, and they just don't give her anything.
Yeah.
But the fans, they start out hot. Favorites have to go to tribal first. For the lulz, the favorites vote out Francesca again. And then from there, we get our first big setup for the first uncomfortable moment of the season because Brandon's pissed that Philip and the crew, Stealth R Us, have just totally left him out of everything. And Philip and him have this, it's not even a rivalry because rivalries are usually fun-ish. This one
lasts more than 10 minutes.
Yeah, this starts off bad and it just gets worse. And I just because of how it's portrayed, I don't like the way that Philip talks to Brandon for a lot of it. I agree, but there's also moments where everyone is saying I don't like the way that Brandon is skulking around camp, this, that, and the other. So I think, oh God, now they have Brenda on camera ready to talk to Dawn. Why are they doing this? This is so horrible. But that inevitably leads to a lot of tension between the two. And I know it's been documented many times, but there's no reason for Brandon to have been on this season. It was clear that he was not in the right state. But having said that, Philip provoking him, whether it was on purpose or not, was only going to lead to what inevitably happens.
Yeah.
So do you think that I don't even know how to phrase this without this. Do you think this was inevitable? Do you think that the way he goes off is inevitable, or do you think that cooler heads could have prevailed if the right situation had come up?
I honestly think that this situation was definitely preventable. Now, up to casting, putting Brandon and Philip on the same season, I don't think would have ended well for either of them. Now, I know Brandon was actually not really shown to be kind of a hothead in South Pacific, so I don't think this is something that the production could have exactly anticipated. But I think once they're put in the same tribe and they're kind of able to interact, I'm sure the other tribe mates could have seen something feeling between them for a while. It seemed pretty sudden to us on the screen when they're just talking like civilly, and then he's like, let me give you a reason to vote me out. And then that whole thing just blows up out of nowhere. I think that's something they couldn't have prepared for. But yeah, I don't really blame production for that one. I do blame them for casting Brandon. I don't think that was a wise decision. But knowing that could have happened, I really don't think they could have prevented that. It was just kind of unfortunate.
And to go off of that first part that you said, I'm so tired. Once again, I apologize to everyone for having low energy. It's just this season drained me, and it's almost 2 o'clock in the morning. Do you think they got it right with the favorites this season? Let's say that their casting pool was 21 to 25.
Well, 16 to I mean, I guess
Well,
16
yeah,
to
well,
20.
for the except for let's put Corinne and Eric on the season.
Yeah.
So you have 8 slots left, and you're going to give them to people from 21 to 25. Do you think, based off of how those seasons went, that we got the right folks?
Not exactly. Now, I know people love to absolutely trash on this season, saying this has the worst cast ever. The favorites are absolutely abysmal. I wouldn't call them abysmal. And some of them were not exactly favorites. There's a lot of people I would replace, but this is not like an all-time terrible cast by any means. I think the people that we got back, had really low expectations of them. I do think a lot of them were able to deliver, improve on their previous games, but there are definitely people that I would have swapped out. Now, from 21 to 25 era, that is a pretty tough window to find, but I think what we got, it worked the best way it could have. So
yeah. And like you said, I feel like so this season definitely Andrea stood out. I think Andrea becomes Andrea in the minds of a lot of Survivor fans because of this season. I feel like Malcolm continues his
Golden Boy fun arc.
From his first season. Dawn did and I'm going to touch on the final tribal later. But Dawn did amazing this season. I feel like if she's sitting next to Eddie and Sherry, she doesn't win in a sweep, but she gets the majority of the votes. I do feel like she would win in that situation. I feel like because her and Cochran were so close together, and because of the way that Cochran was getting the jury to laugh, that's what ultimately got him any votes that may have gone to Dawn's way. But I did like Dawn's story this season. And Philip, this is my favorite version of Philip. Having said that, it did seem like Philip was just trying to play a parody of Philip Shepard from Redemption Island, along with Boston Rob. And it got to the point where it's like, in Redemption Island, it's like, okay, yeah, there's different Philips. There's the crazy guys, there's the one that's really serious. You're saying, you're calling me the N-word, blah, blah, blah. There's different Philips. With this season, we never get serious Philip. Even during the moments where it's him versus Brandon, Philip is still sitting there preaching about Stealth R Us and everything, in a moment that is serious, and you're sitting there. Is this his family? I think maybe not. He's sitting there still spouting his Stealth R Us crap, and it's like, all right, do you let's dial it back a bit, because Brandon seems like he wants to kill you, and if you keep on talking about this, he may. But I do feel like the favorites that they brought back, it almost seems like a brand steal. Not as much as Game Changers, but a lot of them, it's like, all right, sure, we can bring Francesca back. Why not?
Well, she was like the one person I was really not thrilled to see. I mean, I don't think the first boot should never return, especially for a favorite season.
Brenda, I wasn't really from that cast. I don't know. Maybe
she wasn't necessarily a favorite. I think she was just a strong player, but
yeah. So we have our fans and our favorites, and the favorites basically just skate right through the pre-merge, led by the Stealth R Us Alliance. We hit the merge, and that's actually where the fun starts. Sadly, that's when I started to get really bored and tired. And I think it also might be like Survivor fatigue finally kicked in today.
Yeah.
But we hit the merge. One of my favorite blindsides ever is the Corinne blindside at the merge. And then a little bit later, the Andrea and the Brenda. Those 3 tribal councils on their own make for a very fun merge. But we also have the 3 Amigos tribal, which I do want to get your opinion on, because once again, this is one of those things that everyone kind of talks about now. Yeah. Reynolds goes in with immunity. Eddie and Malcolm have idols. Oh, Malcolm gives Eddie an idol. Do you think there was a way they could have navigated that situation where they only played one or potentially even zero?
I do not think there was a way they could have played zero. I do definitely think there was a way they could have played one. I mean, what we saw play out, they could have only used one. I do think if they brought both of them out, I think announcing they're voting for Philip is a major mistake in their plan because it kind of closes off all negotiations. I think had they got everyone else to start talking and kind of getting everyone to betray each other, I really do think they could have got something going, but I don't think they were in such a tense situation. I think they didn't want to take any chances. Just we're using this, we're going for Philip. You can join us or not, and you might get voted out. But I don't think it was the right move. But I think it's a classic example of fun TV moment while sacrificing good gameplay in a sense.
Yeah, you're basically because they even admit to we're not going to have any idols after this, and we know that we're still going to be down 6-3 after this tribal is over.
Yeah.
And like you said, they really drop the ball when they say we're voting for Philip, because if they don't do that and they somehow play one idol and a couple people get scared and jump ship and just throw their votes elsewhere, we're in a different type of situation. Do I think that Philip still goes home in that situation? I don't know. Rob just gave Philip the copy of the BR rules. I just don't like anything that's happening in this reunion. But yes, we have the merge. It's basically the storyline of this season is Stealth R Us versus the three amigos.
Yeah,
and it is fun. I will say that it is fun, even though I fell asleep through it and had to watch it all over again. It was fun to watch these two navigate around each other, knowing full well that Stealth R Us isn't going to do Cochran wins, but I've never really attached him to that alliance.
Yeah.
We know ultimately that neither alliance is really going to work in the end. It's really going to be the Dawn Cochran, I think, pre-game alliance that eventually gets to the end. They're doing a tease for the next season. I wonder what it's going to be.
Oh.
Not much with this merge. Like, honestly, the Brenda vote is very sad. It's sad for two reasons. One, because of what inevitably happens at the final tribal, but also because Eric almost dies right after that. This kid just can't catch a break. And it's funny, watching it this time, I'm like, well, Eric could win in a situation like
definitely
with Sherry and Eddie. Eric,
yeah,
once again, doesn't sweep, but he's pretty damn close to it. Everyone likes Eric, and Eric is like the unofficial fourth member of the Amigos, and also the unofficial whatever member of Stealth R Us. So, what did you think of Eric his second time around this season?
Well, I think the edit. I'm someone that usually tries to defend the edit, but I think this edit really just shafted him. They kind of did him dirty. They didn't really show him. I think just because he was not the biggest entity game wise, they wanted to focus more on the big, because this was a season of big game players. I feel like he was kind of laying low, and so they kind of decided to give more screen time to Philip and Brandon and whoever. But I mean, I think the same thing. I mean, the same thing happens with anyone who decides not to be super present strategically. I mean, and we see Eric in post-game interviews saying that he wanted to come into the season not being a huge part of the strategy. He wanted people to approach him. He didn't want to be approaching people. And I think when you come into the game with that strategy, it doesn't give the producers a lot to work with because you don't have necessarily a plan. You know, it's hard for them to get stuff out of you. So I think I do understand the reasoning behind it, but I just wish we got more of his story as a fan coming back as a favorite. If we didn't get to see his gameplay, I at least would have liked to see that. But and at least I wish his injury was shown as well. Yeah.
He just wanted some food.
He was the one who was willing to climb 100 feet. Forget Angelina. He climbed 100 feet to get some food.
He actually climbed 100 feet. So you saying that you're a CARAMOAN fan. Why? I just talk about why you like this season.
Okay.
I need to know.
I will be the first to say that I absolutely despise the fans tribe. I will be the first to say that. And I understand that the pre-merge is so heavily focused on the fans tribe, given that they lose all the challenges. But I will say that the post-merge was just much more fun for me. I don't know how to describe it. It was like it was very chaotic, kind of like Micronesia in a sense, with like the slew of interesting tribals. But I feel like Micronesia everyone just seemed more angry and tense, and it was very cliquey, and just people didn't get along. I know people did not get along in this season either, but I feel like it was much more high energy, if you will. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Karen, I'm so glad I'm done with this season. Oh my gosh. From the fans and favorites to the Brandon thing to the Corinne referring to Michael as her gay multiple times. Oh no, he's my gay. Like I love the gays. Blah blah blah. It's like, all right, like I get it, but also stop. To the Dawn Brenda thing at Final Tribal with with the teeth, and it's just Brenda doesn't even vote for her in that situation. She still doesn't vote for her. So talking about that Final Tribal. And also, I just want to say, everyone that says that Cochran like hijacks the edit this season, I didn't feel like he was like prevalently shown prevalently. Whatever. It's 2:00 in the morning. I didn't feel like he was like everywhere on the screen. And then I looked at the confessionals, and it's not like he doesn't blow people out as far as confessionals.
I mean, he kind of does. He
Not
beats like the next person by like 30.
Huh? Does he?
Yeah, Reynolds is second highest at like 37. He is the most at like 67. Something crazy like
he doesn't
that.
get 100. It's not like another person that we know. But having said all that, the final three. We get to the final three. Cochran cuts off Eddie at the end. I do feel like if Eddie's sitting at the end, he probably gets the Amigo votes, and Cochran doesn't get the perfect game. But instead, what we get is Cochran versus Dawn with the special appearance by Sherry, who just before we talk about the other two, what do you think happened to Sherry from pre-merge to merge from this power position to you're not going to win, Sherry? Eric telling her you're not going to win.
Yeah. So I'm not a Sherry defender at all. I don't like Sherry at all as a player, but I do think you have to cut her some slack because as the leader of the fans tribe coming into the merge with no numbers, I really think she just realized, listen, there's four fans who made the merge.
Oh no, there were
four
fans who made the merge. Michael,
Amigo.
Yeah, Amigos are 2 fans. Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah, 4 fans who made the merge. 2 of them don't want to have anything to do with me. They've been against me this whole time, and 7 favorites who I don't think I can exactly take the reins over. So I think if I had been in her place, I probably would have played similarly at the beginning. But I feel like she just kind of laid down and just let them steamroll. She realized that she couldn't take control of the favorites. I think she just kind of died at that point. Now, had I been in her place, I would have tried to at least stir something up midway through the merge. But at that point, she was kind of screwed. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the swap didn't help her. The swap definitely didn't help her, even though she never lost during the swap, right? No, that's not true. No, that is true.
True. Yeah.
See, I already don't.
She was on the winning drive.
She never lost it at the swap. Okay. I hate this season. Dawn and Cochran. From the very beginning, it is Dawn and Cochran. Dawn says it at Final Tribal. She built these social bonds with people where people would tell her stuff. And that is, besides the crying, which I know a lot of people harped on, I really didn't care about it this time around. It's shown many times with people just coming to Dawn and saying, hey, this is what's happening. This person said this person said that. And then it's Dawn and Cochran talking through everything.
Yeah.
So I do feel like it was a partnership. Definitely. And I feel like both of them tried to, in the moment for $1 million, tried to say they were kind of in control both times. I think that Cochran got his point across better to that jury.
Yeah.
And I think that's what ultimately gets him the win. But Did you? As a as a Dawn and CARAMOAN person, did you? Do you give her a lot of credit in this season? Did you enjoy Dawn in this season, and do you think that she could have potentially gotten a few votes in that final three?
Yeah, so I typically not an enjoyer of Dawn as a character. Now, as a game player this season, I was pleasantly surprised. I don't think I would have personally given her my vote just because I think Cochrane, even though they were a partnership, I do see how he kind of was able to use her to get people to give her information and kind of get the blood on her hands while he just looks like the strategic mastermind behind it all. And do I think he was a strategic mastermind behind everything? No, I do definitely think it was a partnership, but it appears that way to the jury. And when Dawn's kind of like, when the jury kind of like rips into her and they're like, explain yourself, there's not really much she can say because she in effect screwed them over. Cochrane sitting next to her was right there along with her the whole way, and he didn't have to do any of that. So I definitely would have given my vote to Cochrane, especially as if I was on the fans tribe, I would have just given my vote to Cochrane just because I like him more as a fan. But that's not a valid reason. But I would have voted for him anyways because I think he had such a huge growth on the season that you can't ignore that.
Rudy's spouting mess. Rip Rudy. See, as someone that's not a Cochrane fan, a Cochrane and CARAMOAN fan, I will say that watching it this time around, I actually forgot that he had a couple of emotional moments. Because in my head, it was always like, oh yeah, Cochrane just plays like a sociopath through all of CARAMOAN, and he even refers to himself as a game bot in this season. I think that's one of the first times we ever hear that phrase spoken on the show. But he refers to himself as a game bot, and then they get their letters, and he's crying, and he's like, "I feel like a person." It's very similar to Denise and Philippines, where Denise and Philippines, Kim and One World, where they all have these confessionals where they say they've tried to turn off their brain to their real lives and just try to focus on the game, and then these moments happen where that brings them back for a little bit to that real person that they are. So I will say that I did appreciate Cochrane more this time around than the previous times I've watched CARAMOAN. He doesn't come off as this sarcastic, neurotic nerd who, it's funny because he's making fun of people. So it's fine if he's a nerd as long as, and making fun of people because, it's cute. The first time I watched it's like, okay, yeah, I get it. But this time around, it wasn't endearing, but I got it. Overall, first of all, I'm glad to be done with the Dark Ages. Thank goodness. Yes. I wish I could just start Blood versus Water tonight, but I am going to catch sleep before then. God, why is Brenda on the screen again? Oh, because she was nominated for fan favorite?
Yeah.
Stop. Malcolm does.
And she's pregnant. Right? She does win.
Yeah, there showed that. Malcolm wins this. Okay, yeah.
There's the real happy ending.
All right, thank goodness. CARAMOAN, it isn't the worst Dark Age season for me this time around. I still feel like it would probably be Redemption Island. But it's not better than, in my opinion now, it's not better than One World.
One World is miserable for me. It's my least favorite season by far.
It's not better than Nicaragua, and I would want it to be better than South Pacific, but I just can't bring myself to do it right now. Maybe because it just ruined my day. So I'm gonna give Survivor CARAMOAN a 2.25. It's gonna get a 2.25 out of 5. It's if you want to watch a fans versus favorite season, just watch Blood versus Water. Just watch Blood versus Water. It's a better fans versus favorite season. It's right after this shit fest.
Yeah.
But Ryan, thank you so much for. I know it's early-ish in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, it's like 11.
But thank you so much for being up this late to do this with me.
It's always a blast.
It's 2:15 in the morning now. Thank you all for tuning in. My voice is leaving for some reason. And we will see y'all after Blood versus Water. Thank goodness.